I'm Luke Allen, CEO of OHD. I'll be your guide as you learn how to set up, operate, and maintain your AeroFit respirator fit testing system. By the end of this course, you'll know how to use the AeroFit to conduct fit testing that meets OSHA, ISO, and major international regulatory standards. You'll also gain a deeper understanding of the science behind fit testing. Now, let's get started. Your AeroFit arrives in a military-grade case designed for safe transport and storage. Inside the lid, you'll find an insert with QR codes. These link directly to technical support, accessory ordering, and calibration information. Inside the case, you'll find an AeroFit fit test system. Grab the handle and lift the AeroFit from the case. Along with your AeroFit, you'll also receive twin tubing for connecting the respirator to the machine, a power cord to connect your AeroFit to a power supply. The AeroFit can also be run off of a battery, which is sold separately. A particle generator to create the proper test environment and use the particle generation management process. A connection cord connecting the particle generator to the AeroFit, a USB cable for connecting the AeroFit to your PC and communicating with the OHD Logic PC software, the wick assembly and storage capsule, a red storage cap, spare wicks for your wick assembly, 10 bottles of reagent-grade isopropyl alcohol, push nuts and probes for FFR or FFP fit testing, a probe insert tool for inserting push nuts and probes, a lanyard to hold tubing during an FFR or FFP fit test, a USB thumb drive for saving fit test results or for transferring those results and databases, as well as a number of technical support items for your use in operating the AeroFit system. Adapters and converters for APR or elastomeric half and full face respirators are sold separately and may sometimes ship in a separate box or premium adapter case. These components work together to give you everything you need to begin using your AeroFit right out of the case. Before turning on the AeroFit, there are a few steps we recommend completing. First, ensure the wick within the wick assembly is charged with alcohol inside the storage capsule. To do this, fill the capsule with reagent-grade alcohol, which is provided. Remove the wick assembly from the capsule and fill the reservoir at a minimum to the fill line marked alcohol window, and then reinsert the wick assembly. Don't overfill the capsule more than halfway, as the alcohol will overflow. Once the wick assembly is reinserted, turn it clockwise to lock it into place, making sure the bottom of the wick is fully submerged. This allows the wick to absorb alcohol before fit testing. It's important to remember to let the wick soak for 3 to 5 minutes ahead of fit testing. With your wick charging, attach the power cord to the back of the AeroFit and then plug it into a wall outlet. Or use the optional battery if your unit is equipped with one. The battery will charge while the AeroFit is plugged into a wall outlet. Next, connect the particle generator to the back of the AeroFit using the cable provided. One plug will go into the jack of the back of the AeroFit and the other will connect directly up to the particle generator. Insert the base cap into a bottle filled with water. No special water is required for the particle generator. Next, place the connected bottle upside down in the reservoir to allow the particle generator to fill. Turn the particle generator's knob to your desired output. Full is recommended. To finish the particle generator's setup, open the front window to ensure it allows maximum generation. Next, flip the switch on the back of the AeroFit to turn it on and wait a few seconds while it completes its startup cycle. When turning on your AeroFit for the first time, you'll be guided through the startup wizard. Note that if the startup wizard does not come up, it has simply already been bypassed or the machine has already been set up. Don't worry, as all the settings can be adjusted in the settings menu. The startup wizard is a short series of questions that helps the instrument enable or disable the features you desire for your specific fit testing program. The settings you select here are saved to the instrument, and as I mentioned earlier, you can update them at any time in the settings menu. Your first prompt will be to select your language. And once you've made your choice, tap the bottom right blue arrow in the bottom right corner to continue. And next, you'll see the initial setup screen. This is just a reminder that you can change any of these settings later in the settings menu. As you advance through the wizard, you'll set up important details like the regulations you follow, the respirators you'll be testing, your particle generation management preferences, and your list of operators. Turning particle generation management on is highly recommended, as the AeroFit will power and operate the particle generator for you during testing. Remember, this is simply a quick setup. You can change the regulation, add or remove respirators or operators, and make other adjustments at any time in the settings menu. If you need to sync multiple instruments, you have two options. Option 1 is to use Logic PC to load your personnel, then sync the personnel to each instrument. Option 2 is to use a USB thumb drive. You can load your personnel to one instrument, then export the database to a USB thumb drive, and then import that database into the other instrument. After completing the startup wizard for the first time, or when turning on the AeroFit to prepare for testing, the screen will display instructions for the daily verification. Instructions for attaching the twin tubes are first, and this can be easily achieved by following the on-screen guidance, as well as using the connectors, male, female, or the color coding of the tubing and markings on the front of the AeroFit. Remove the red storage cap from the front of the instrument. Once completed, press the blue arrow to advance. You can store this cap on the alcohol storage capsule while the wick assembly is in use. Continue following the guidance by inserting the charged wick assembly from the alcohol storage capsule into the front of the AeroFit, aligning it with the notch and turning it clockwise until it locks in place with the arrow pointing upward toward the lock on the AeroFit. Press the blue arrow to continue. Your AeroFit is now running and properly assembled for the daily verification or for fit testing for the day. A daily verification is a series of tests or measurements performed on both the instrument and of the environment to ensure that they are suitable for fit testing. Daily verification will be recommended at the beginning of each day and can also be initiated at any time through the green daily verification icon on the home screen. After promptings to connect your tube assembly and insert your wick assembly, the AeroFit will prompt you to select the type or types of respirators you will be testing that day. You can choose more than one, for example, both full-face elastomeric respirators and filtering facepiece respirators. If you select filtering facepiece respirators, you will be asked whether the respirator has a filter efficiency less than 99%. For N95s or FFP2s, you would select yes. After making your selections, press the blue arrow in the bottom right to advance. The AeroFit will now perform the appropriate initial checks. Make sure no tubes are connected to the zero port and are open to the ambient air. Once the initial checks are complete, the AeroFit will direct you to connect the clear sample line to the zero port on the front of the unit. This step will only appear if you pass the first section. If the particle concentrations were too low, causing a failure on the first portion, increase the output on the particle generator and ensure it is directed in the area of testing. If they were too high, adjust the direction of the particle generator. Once adjusted, restart the verification by selecting the purple back arrow at the bottom right of the screen. Once you have passed that first section, press the blue arrow to proceed. You will then be directed to connect the clear line to the zero port located at the front of the AeroFit. Connect the clear line and ensure it is fully pressed over the port. Press the blue arrow to proceed. The next step is the zero check and max fit factor calculation. A series of measurements will be conducted to ensure there are no leaks or blockages that could compromise the fit test. If there is a failure, there will be guidance provided in the unit, but always ensure your clear tube is connected to the zero port well and that your ambient concentration is in a good range for testing. Also ensure the dual tube has no visible breaks or punctures. If there are multiple failures after troubleshooting attempts, please contact OHD tech support. When the daily verification is finished, you can choose to print the results, save them to a thumb drive, or simply advance to the next screen with the green check mark. If you don't print or save to a thumb drive, the file will still be stored on the unit and can be accessed later. Finally, remove the clear line from the zero port and press the blue arrow to return to the home screen. Setting up respirators is a key step before starting a fit test. If you've already set up respirators in the setup wizard, this step isn't required. But this is an important function to understand if you need to add, remove, or select new respirators in the future. From the home screen, press the blue Settings button in the bottom right of the screen. Then select the green Setup Respirators button in the bottom left of the settings screen. Within the Setup Respirators screen, you can search using the search at the top, scroll using the scrolling respirator listing, or filter using the filter buttons on the right side of the screen. Once you identify the respirator you are searching for, you can simply toggle on or off using the toggle button to the right of the respirator. After making your selections, be sure to press the green check mark at the bottom right to save the selections. Then you can exit using the red X button at the bottom left of the screen, or the home screen icon at the top left of the screen. Adding respirators can be done using the purple plus sign. Be sure to confirm the respirator type is accurate, as it will determine the fit factor and other settings during testing. Now, to add people or test subjects, select the red People Test button at the top left of the home screen. Within this screen, you can import test subjects, delete, or add new test subjects. To add a new test subject, simply press the purple plus sign at the bottom left of the screen. Enter the person's information with first and last name being required. Notes can be added for the record as well. To edit a person and to edit their record, simply select the person by touching their name. A blue highlight bar will confirm your selection, and then press the orange notebook button at the bottom center of the screen. The first step in conducting a fit test will be to prepare the respirator for testing with the correct adapters or probing. Broadly, there are two types of respirators for setup: elastomeric respirators with filter connections and FFR or FFP respirators requiring puncture and probing. First, let's go through setting up a dual cartridge elastomeric respirator. Today, we're going to be using a 3M 6500 respirator as our example. For elastomeric testing with any CNC instrument like the AeroFit, it will require P100 filters, so particulate can be filtered out before entering the respirator, confirming that any particles measured inside of the respirator are from leaks. Adapters for the 3M respirator and other respirators can be sourced from a number of sources as well as directly from OHD. Before we attach the adapter, we'll need to cut a sample tube to run inside of the respirator for sampling in what's called the breathing zone. Sampling in the breathing zone is a requirement for any CNC machine, and a new sample tube should be used for each fit test. If you're using a full-face respirator, it's important that the sample tube is run into the nose cup to sample in the breathing zone, so be sure to cut enough tubing for that application. Once you've cut the proper length of sample tube, attach it to the inside port of the adapter. Take the adapter and attach it between the mask and filter on one side of the respirator. These adapters should be interchangeable, so either side is fine. Attach the other P100 filter to the opposite side directly to the respirator. At the end of the sample tube, you can install a clip and a suction cup to secure the sample tube inside of the respirator. Be sure that the sample tube is not blocked or interfering with a test subject during testing. Remember that we want this tube open to the breathing zone to conduct a proper measurement. Now you're ready to connect the clear sample tube to the adapter port and move into fit testing of this respirator. Now let's go through probing and connecting to an FFR or FFP. Since this respirator is the filter, we need to probe directly to the respirator using our push nuts and probes. First, ensure your OHD probe insert tool or stapler is on a flat and strong surface. Take a push nut and attach it to the probing stapler magnet at the top, and then place the probe over the needle and be careful with the needle point. Position the FFR in between the push nut and probe, where the target probing is on the front or just under the front of the FFR. If you have an exhalation valve on the FFR, you can probe below or beside that FFR. Do not probe at the top, as it will pull the respirator down during fit testing. Once the placement is confirmed, press down directly and firmly until the probe punctures the respirator and the push nut. Release and remove the respirator, and now you're ready to connect the clear sample tube to the probe port and move into fit testing of this respirator. If you have an exhalation valve on the FFR, you can probe below or beside that valve. After you've met all regulatory requirements, you can move into fit testing. On the home screen, select the red People Test button at the top left. Choose a person from the list. You can search for someone by typing their name or by selecting their company from the drop-down menu. Once you've selected your person, press the orange arrow at the bottom right to advance to the next screen, where you'll select a respirator. Use the respirator drop-down to choose from the list of pre-selected respirators. Next, select the size, choose the operator, and then press the blue arrow on the bottom right to continue. If you need to go back, use the blue arrow on the bottom left. On the next screen, verify that all information is correct. Both written and visual checks will confirm that the correct respirator has been chosen. If changes are required, press the blue back arrow at the bottom left or press the green Begin Fit Test button at the bottom right. Note that the test will begin immediately after you press Begin Fit Test, so be sure the subject is prepared to start the test. The fit test will begin and the test subject will follow written and visual instructions on the screen to ensure each exercise is performed correctly. Step progress bars will appear at the top of the screen, providing the operator awareness of the AeroFit's measurement areas and progress through each step. The fit factor gauge in the bottom right corner shows the real-time fit factor for the test at that point in the test step. As the test progresses, instructions will update for each new exercise. An audio signal will also notify the test subject when an exercise is complete and it's time to advance to the next step. Fit factors from each completed exercise will be displayed on the right-hand side of the screen. The step number will be green if the test step is a pass and red if the test step is a fail. Once the fit test is finished, the overall fit factor screen will appear. This screen shows the overall fit factor value, a written pass or fail result, and the individual fit factors for each exercise as well as the respirator and size. Pressing the red notes button allows the operator to add notes to the test report. Pressing the blue arrow advances to the next screen. If signature capture is active, the employee or operator will be able to sign, allowing signatures to be captured on the test report. After signatures are completed, the overall fit factor will be shown again, and the operator can choose to move on to the next test subject, retest the current subject, print the report, or generate a PDF. Choosing to move on to the next fit test subject will return you to the people test list, where you can repeat the selection process for the next person. Troubleshooting fit testing with your AeroFit system has a number of steps that are important to remember. The first most common issue with CNC fit testing is particle concentration in a room. So really you have two different issues here. Number one is not enough particles. That's probably the most common. And so the main things there are check your room size to make sure that you're in a small enough room. If you're doing fit testing in a very open or outdoor area, that can cause changes in particle concentration or just low particle counts. The other important step would be to make sure that your particle generator and particle generation management is properly connected, it's turned on, and it's working correctly. That means that your window is properly open and you have the knob and the nozzle fully turned to the on position and full blast to allow for the proper amount of concentration into the room. The other important thing is that your alcohol wick is fully saturated. So make sure that your alcohol wick allows that time that we mentioned earlier in the training to fully saturate, but also if you've been running fit testing for a number of hours and you see concentrations or low counts, you might want to saturate your wick again there. The opposite side is too much, so too many particles, and the best way to kind of address that would be adjust the particle generator direction in the test environment. So if it's directly going into the tube set, that could be the reason that you have too many particles. And then there's other adjustments you could make of opening up doors or making sure that the room's not too closed off, holding particle concentrations too long. Another important thing for troubleshooting is low alcohol symptoms. So again, that could be where the concentrations in the unit begin to go down. You're seeing low concentrations, and that's a sign that you have low alcohol in your wick. And again, an easy way to really address that troubleshooting is resaturate that wick for a number of minutes and then reinsert into the unit and see if your concentrations climb back up. As far as daily verification failures go, the main things that you want to check here are your dual tube's integrity. So at times, if you're doing a lot of fit testing, you can be connecting to adapters on and off respirators, connecting up to the front of your AeroFit here. And any punctures in this tube set will obviously allow leak into this sample, which causes issues in not only fit testing, but really more importantly, daily verification. So you want to look at your integrity of your dual tube. You also want to reference what I just talked about on high and low particle concentrations. That can have impacts on your daily verification, especially if your particle concentrations are too low. Too low concentrations can make daily verification much harder to pass. And then finally, you want to make sure that your zero port is connected up correctly, and make sure that your tube set, when doing the zero port check, is fully pressed onto the port all the way in. So any type of very minimal connection type could let in a leakage from the environment, causing a failure on daily verification. So these are some of the main troubleshooting aspects. So the other thing I'll mention is if you're failing a fit test, one area that we recommend is jumping into fit mode. So you can use fit mode before testing for training, but you also can use fit mode for troubleshooting a failed fit test. Now keep in mind, this does not replace a fit test. It does not allow you to jump back into a fit test at a specific point. It allows you to exit a fit test if it's failed, go into fit mode to check for training, check for donning, check for the right size, the right manufacturer and model, etc. And then once you feel that respirator is properly donned and trained and fitting well, you can jump back into a fit test at the very beginning. So use fit mode to help you troubleshoot failed respirators or failed fit test. And the final step is if you've tried these troubleshooting techniques, you can always contact OHD through our tech support line or through our website for more support in troubleshooting to help your fit testing program.